I was away for the press screening of Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt's new film, The Fall Guy, but I was very excited to see this movie, so I went out to the theaters and paid for a ticket and sat through 20 minutes of commercials to watch The Fall Guy in the theaters. And the theater was pretty packed, which was pretty good. It was a matinee showing, and I wanted to go and see this movie because of all of the rave reviews and everybody talking about it on Twitter. And I'll tell you how I feel about The Fall Guy right after this word from our sponsor.
A soldier's greatest wish is not to be working after all. If it helps, theirs was a noble sacrifice for the betterment of humankind.
Laying down arms and surrendering is, well, it's not the worst of our available options. We should just finish this!
All right, who's next? Keep 'em coming.
I also chose my path, and I will see it through to the end!
Thank you so much to 505 Games for sponsoring this video. Now, the thing about The Fall Guy is that there's been lots of people talking about the movie not quite hitting its opening weekend box office numbers and talking about the demise of the theatrical experience and all of that. And of course, this movie has been getting tons of rave reviews coming out of things like South by Southwest. We've seen Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt all over the place promoting this thing, and they are charming individuals. And I'm happy to report that they are charming individuals once again in this Fall Guy picture. And this is a movie directed by David Leitch, who also brought us Deadpool 2 and worked in the John Wick franchise. He's done lots of action stuff in his past. And David Leitch is actually a former stuntman, and this movie is a celebration of stunt people. And so there were lots of really cool things about this movie that made me excited to see it. The marketing has been phenomenal. We even had Ryan Gosling dress up as part of Beavis and Butthead on the red carpet for the film, which is crazy. All of this synergy and great buzz about this. And so I went and saw this with the highest of hopes and expectations, and then the movie kind of delivered. It's pretty darn good. It's not mind-blowing, and I think this is the case of the hype and the buzz. And yes, I'm predisposed to kind of pay attention to all this stuff because I report on entertainment, and I love movies, and I love reviewing films, and I love talking about all of this stuff, entertainment in all of its forms. And so I saw a lot of it, but it was so hyped, and I was expecting something just magnificent, something akin to the Deadpool movies and the John Wick movies, and it's not quite that. This is a decent film with some funny characters and some pretty cool action, but we've seen better action in lots of movies, even movies that this movie kind of tips its hat towards or has a slight homage of. Actually, in the opening sequence, there are little clips of action films that kind of show off what stunt people have to do, and I applaud all of that. I love the stunt community, and I love all of the efforts that they take to entertain us. But for a movie about stunts and the stunt world, I kind of was expecting to see stunts I'd never seen before, and we didn't really get that. There was even an old classic 1980s movie called The Stunt Man, starring Peter O'Toole, of all people. He wasn't the stunt man, but that one, I think, got into the world of stunt performers a little cooler. I remember an old classic Burt Reynolds movie called Hooper, which kind of talked about stunt people in a similar kind of tone. And of course, this movie is based on the 1980s television series called The Fall Guy, starring Lee Majors. And I enjoyed that show, but I enjoyed the theme song for that show quite a bit more. And so I was into the idea of loving this movie. And I actually do love both Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. I think they're both incredible actors. And I've really grown to appreciate Ryan Gosling as a comedic performer from things like The Nice Guys and most recently as Ken in Barbie. Superb. Excellent work. And so I was expecting to laugh more, and I was expecting to be blown away by the stunts a lot more. And there are some cool sequences and some cool bits, some fun fights where Ryan Gosling and his enemy are fighting inside of construction equipment and they're being bashed around on city streets. Thought that was kind of interesting. Some good flips and jumps and things. And you can see Ryan Gosling as this stuntman, Colt Seavers. He's got the skills to be able to kind of defend himself and throw a punch and stuff. And so there's some humor there because he's not really prepared to be in real peril, but he puts himself in real peril because, of course, the The whole story is about this overarching intrigue that is happening with the star of the movie that he is a stunt person for. And the star of the movie within the movie is this completely over-the-top egomaniac played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. And he does a good job, and Blunt does a great job, and Ryan Gosling does a great job, but there just isn't enough of a romance kind of payoff, I feel, from the picture. There's some good sparks, some good chemistry, some good energy, and the stunt work just doesn't pay off in as big a way. I mean, even the big climactic sequences at the end were like, okay, you know? And there's this whole movie within a movie kind of vibe of them putting together this sci-fi picture, and it just looks so cheeseball. And I think that's part of the gag and part of the humor, but I think it would have worked better if they played it for real and they really made something magnificent within this picture, and then you'd want to see all of that stuff towards the end. I had smiles throughout this movie. I didn't laugh out loud. I certainly thought of other movies where I thought that stunt person perspective was just a little bit cooler. I just wasn't surprised enough by The Fall Guy. And the movie that I kept thinking about, and it's also based around a 1980s television show, but it was played with laughs, but the action was outrageous, and it was just such a freaking cool movie. It's so underappreciated. I'm talking about Joe Carnahan's terrific The A-Team, and if you've never seen that movie, it didn't do very well. It is so freaking fantastic. It's got Bradley Cooper in it, and Liam Neeson is in it, and it's so much fun, and the stunts are crazy, and the energy was amazing in that movie. The Fall Guy is good. It's just not great, and I went in expecting way too much. I'm going to give The Fall Guy a 7 out of 10.